What is going on, guys? TBL here, coming back at you with some Call of Duty Infinite Warfare news. The new update is out and it has brought for us a bunch of brand new things to play with, including 2 brand new guns in the Auger LMG and the Trencher submachine gun. Now, this isn't too much of a surprise. We knew these guns were coming, but we didn't know exactly what they would do. The Auger LMG is a Gatling gun styled LMG that starts off firing very slowly and then very quickly picks up that fire rate until the point where it can absolutely shred people. I've already had a match or two with it. I'm really digging it. While the Trencher is kind of like the old Type 100 from the, I think, World at War days. It's got about a medium rate of fire, kicks a little bit, but overall feels very good. So we've got these 2 brand new guns in Infinite Warfare. I've had a chance to play with both of them. If you're a season pass holder, they are already unlocked. They are completely free for you. And for everyone else, you'll just have to complete a quick challenge to unlock them both. For the Auger, you'll need to complete 10 matches where you land 50 shots with an LMG, while for the Trencher, you'll need to complete 10 matches where you get 10 kills with classic weapons. At least that's what I've read. Unfortunately, I'm a season pass holder, so I had these guns for free. And I gotta say, it's really exciting. The Trencher seems to have a pretty decent 3-shot kill radius, out to about 12 meters or so, and the Auger, man, like I said, once this thing gets going, it absolutely shreds people with reckless abandon. And as usual, while the normal versions of these guns are free in the game, there are epic and rare variants that you can get via supply drops. Oh, and you might be noticing something a little bit different about this Trinity rocket right here. It does something a little bit different now. Well, that would be the real focus of today's video, in that Scorestreak variants have finally made their way to Infinite Warfare. Now in the game, if you make your way to the Quartermaster, you'll find the new Scorestreak lab, which has different variants, rare, legendary, and epic of every single Scorestreak in the game. And it looks like all of them are craftable with salvage. Let's go ahead and dive in. First up is the Frostbite with increased frost duration but a lower active time. Then the Torque variant with increased movement speed but a lower ability to jump. And finally the Spectre, which comes with the stealth invisible mode that basically makes it so enemies can't see it, but it moves a little bit slower. All small changes that don't really alter the way these killstreaks work too much, but different enough to make them worth checking out. Next up, the rare variant of the UAV is called Pack Rat with the Tenacity ability. It stays active for a longer period of time but has lower health. Then we've got the Carapace with the Tempered ability. It's got a higher resistance to damage. The epic version is called Kickback and it grants you increased assist points but at a higher Scorestreak cost. For the drone package, the rare variant is called Fuse and it basically comes with the Explosive Package perk. It's a fake care package that blows up when enemies try to touch it. Like the old death package trap you could run in Black Ops 2 and Modern Warfare 3. Then we've got the legendary Double Take with Reroll, the ability to reroll the contents of the package with a lower odd for higher tier Scorestreaks. Then finally, the Vault with High Roller. It only contains higher tier Scorestreaks, but at an increased Scorestreak cost. I think it knocks the price of the package up to about $12.50. The rare counter UAV perk is basically the same as the Pack Rat perk. The legendary variant of it is called the Eclipse with the Shutdown perk. It doesn't last as long as a normal counter UAV, but it also shuts down the enemy's HUD. That's going to be very big. And then finally for the epic version, we've got the Nova with the Blast perk. And upon calling this bad boy in, it destroys all enemy equipment and Scorestreaks, but at a greatly increased Scorestreak cost. It means we finally got a proper EMP. For the Vulture, we've got the Kamikaze, which at lower health will target an enemy and self-destruct. That's kind of a neat perk for this thing. The Vulture always has, I guess we'll call it, certain issues with targeting players, so now when they start damaging it, it'll head straight towards them and go kaboom. We've got the Ambush version, which replaces radar mode with the ability to guard a specific location, so basically you set it up in a room and it'll protect that area. That's super cool. And finally the Dragonfly with Guard Dog. This one moves slower, but rather than following you around, it patrols the battlefield looking for people to take down. That's super cool, like a super mini AH6 Overwatch. Alright, next we've got the Trinity rocket, Fissure, single payload with a large explosion that ripples outward. That's the rare version. Legendary version is the Abyss, where it starts to implode on impact, sucking in nearby enemies before exploding, like a black hole. Kind of a bigger, better version of the Gravity Well. And finally the Epic Warhead, where it's able to continuously fire a series of non-tracking missiles per launch. This is the variant I've been using. It's basically like the Dart from Black Ops 2, except way bigger and way better. You know, if the Dart were a missile heading downwards. In the right hands, it really allows you to pepper the entire battlefield with explosives. Alright, for the Scorchers, we've got the Crossbow, where they do a precision strike. Pulsar with an increased movement speed but a higher Scorestreak cost. And finally, in the Epic slot, we have got the Scorcher Hydra, where you can manually choose the strike path for each of the 3 Scorcher planes. So making it a little bit more akin to, say, the Harrier strike of old. I'm down with that. For the bombardment, we've got Flare, where the explosive payloads arrive a little bit quicker but at a smaller capacity, less boom. Tempest, with the Tactician, able to make extra selections on the target map at a higher score streak cost, so instead of getting 3, you get 4. And finally, the Doomsday, where it auto-locks onto individual players and fires itself. That's huge. First for the sentry guns, we've got Squirrel with lower health and faster target acquisition, the Sam, which is an anti-air turret which will blow up enemy skill streaks. I gotta say, it's great to see this back. I always wondered why we never got SAM turrets back after Modern Warfare 3. They're super helpful. And finally, the Catacomb with the tracking ability. It's a slow firing turret that shoots multiple tracking missiles at its target. That's gonna be fun to see. Moving on to the Warden. First, we've got the Watchdog, which comes with an extra flare. The legendary Goliath variant, where the rear turret will now fire bullets, however both turrets will now fire at a slower rate. And finally, Showtime with the support drop. It's basically the emergency airdrop of old. It delivers 3 care packages with a reduced chance of getting higher tier streaks in those packages. And the cost, of course, is vastly increased. Moving on from there, we got the advanced UAV with the Gecko, where it stays active for a longer period of time but has lower health. The Shroud, where it's hidden through the use of reflective camo but has lower movement speed, kind of an Inviso UAV. And finally, the Overseer with the mag signal. Enemy markers are always visible and updated in real time, but for a shorter duration. After that is my favorite streak, the Thor with Fortress. It's got higher resistance against explosive weapons but a lower active lifespan. Then Nimbus, which comes with change-up. It can switch flight directions with the use of L2. So instead of that set flight path, you can go kind of back and forth. And then finally, the Thunderclap, where tracking clusters are no longer player controlled and will freely seek out targets in view. This is huge. It means you don't have to babysit every single cluster you drop, they'll automatically target people. For the RC-8, we've got the Hellion, with increased movement speed but a lower active overall time. The Pinwheel, which replaces the main weapon with a fast-firing energy machine gun. And finally, the Meteor, which is able to perform a short vertical boost by holding X, so think the boost movement from Titanfall. That's perfect. My one gripe with the RC-8 was always that it moved too slow. Moving on to the Apex, first we have Husk with a higher damage resistance against explosive weapons but a lower active lifetime. Lockdown, where missiles automatically seek out visible targets but come with a longer reload time, which is great because the inaccuracy of the Apex missiles was always my biggest gripe with it. And finally, the Reactor, with the Twin Dragons, granting this thing dual high damage laser turrets. I've played around just a little bit with this specific variant. On a close range map like Frontier, this thing shreds everything at sight. It finally makes the Apex worth getting. But alright guys, that's all of the Scorestreak variants you can pick up here in the Scorestreak lab for the salvage that you've got in your pocket. These can also drop from zombie crates or from normal supply drops. But if you've got a huge stockpile of salvage like I do right here, you can go ahead and get to buying. As a matter of fact, let's show that off a little bit here. The pricing structure works like this. For a rare variant, it costs about 150 salvage. For a legendary variant, it costs about 300 salvage. And finally, for an epic variant, it'll cost you a total of 450 salvage to unlock. And just like with the normal supply drop weapons, you have to basically have one level of each rarity unlocked to get to the next. And so, working a little bit of math here, it means you'll need about 12,600 salvage in total to unlock every single Scorestreak variant. Or basically a little under double of what I had at the start of this video. Which actually I'm not too mad about. I think it's actually fairly fair for these things to start off at 150, move up to 300, and then move to 450. Although maybe I'm just saying that because I've been playing this game for a long time and I had a ton of salvage saved up. And I was able to basically buy all of the Scorestreaks that I was really interested in particular the Nova counter UAV variant as well as the Trinity rocket, and then I went ahead and picked up the Thor variants as well as the Apex variants, and I've been playing around. Thankfully, Mayhem mode is still active this week, which is the game mode you can jump into. It's a great game mode to test out kill streaks in because basically when you die, you don't lose your streak. You can continue building it through death, which is a perfect avenue to test out all of these new kill streak variants. But that's pretty much it, guys. Those are all the new Scorestreak variants, and really, I've got to say, this has been a pretty darn impressive patch. When we found out that Scorestreak variants were coming to the game thanks to those wonderful data miners, God bless their souls for all they do. But I was worried that, of course, it'd be like usual, that they would only be in supply drops and that would be pretty much the only way to get your hands on them, which would have been absolutely terrible. But now that we know you can basically buy these things with salvage, and if you've been playing the game for a long time, hopefully you've got some salvage saved up. I gotta say, it's a pretty good feeling to be able to just go in there, pick up all this stuff, and just go ahead and enjoy it on my own. Not to mention the fact that we also got 2 new weapons. We're still waiting on stuff like the Model 2187 and the Barrett 50 cal remake and the ACR remake, but I'm super duper happy with the Trencher and with the Auger. And as you can see, I'm very much enjoying some of the new Skillstreak variants. This Apex variant actually makes this darn thing useful, as the laser beam is super accurate, it's got auto tracking on it, it shreds people, and it looks like it's straight out of Ghostbusters. The original Ghostbusters. Which is definitely good enough for me. But alright guys, that's pretty much it for the quick wrap up of news. I will be having some other gameplays coming out showing off the new weapons and a few of the variants I got my hands on for those guns. I didn't really get any epics yet, but I'm still trying for that. But anyways, I'm out for now. I gotta get back to playing me some Mayhem mode, having way too much fun with it. So as always, I am the Black Link. You guys stay frosty, and I'll see you in the fray.